There we go. Oh, thanks, Mina. Nadine would have killed me later because she even messaged me just before. Make sure you record. So, okay. So, Mina, do you want to get everyone into the poem, and then you can read the poem out? There's a poem for Nick's knowledge that the poem kind of is the story of Frido. It's kind of the story in a poem, and we use it as kind of a little relaxation to get us into the journey. So if we can all, Mina, I'm going to leave it to you. If you can guide everyone through.
Okay. Yeah. I invite everyone to close their eyes, and we go through this journey of Frido. So something steers from deep inside. It twists and turns 1,000 times. It pulls and stretches into shape. A figure shows and moves around. A hand supports it from below until it fills and begins to grow. Building blocks are put in place until the figure is nice and safe. The figure starts to create its own, from light and darkness, vibrating tone. Birth and death begin to rise. The figure splits to compromise. The figure then creates some space. Now life and death begin their race, until the space has found a way to stabilize and has its say. Space creates a home for all, the separation of large and small, of water, fire, earth and air, weight and lightness, cold and brightness, pain and sorrow, love and joy. Out of this space comes girl and boy. The figure has journeyed through time and space, feeling as though it has won the race, looking around only to find a universe of an amazing kind. The training's been tough, it's been testing and rough. The figure is ready, it's complete and steady. Back to the source, the figure must run. For now, the journey has just begun.
Lovely. Thank you, Mina. Mina?
Welcome.
Very beautiful. So did anyone catch the message in that story? Did they understand that story? Because I don't often go on about the poem too much, but it sums up the story of Frido, the whole system, in fact. Harry, you got any ideas?
I kind of meditate to it sometimes. I was just chilling to it because it's so comforting, you see.
Especially with Mina's voice.
Yeah, it was. No, it is actually very comforting the more you listen to it. So I wasn't really focusing on the words as much.
Okay, that's fine. That's perfect. And who else? Does anybody understand the words at all, like the story? Get any gist of it? Limor, she's nodding.
I just kind of related to that because it's similar to kind of what I'm doing about my performance. So it's about life and death. So it's dark and the shadow, and they keep splitting because that's what I feel happening to me. I keep splitting to more characters inside, and now what I'm doing is finding the shadow of the characters because they were too bright. So I kind of related to that. And
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Does anyone get their own kind of idea about that poem, the story? Don't worry if you haven't. I'm just checking in. Okay, so the point of the story is it's a journey. It's the journey of Frido, and Frido is represents everyone and everything. So it can represent anything. It's just a word, but it could be a tree, it could be you, it could be anything. But it's a cosmic journey of creation. And it starts off at the beginning when it's like something stirs from deep inside. It's like the beginning of creation, something stirring from deep inside. Like before we even existed, something. It's like the source energy. And then it kind of goes through a story of creation. Like suddenly building blocks are put in place. This is when the mind starts to create structure for the soul. And then, of course, life and death begin. the beginning of the kind of the physical universe. And then it goes on, eventually like boy and girl appear, and that's like us now. And it's like we can't, everything, creation thinks it's got it, because it's only looking one way. It's creating until we're here. And now we kind of think, oh God, we got here. Everything's arrived, completed, only to look round and see our creation and think, Christ, it's like, oh, wow, what an amazing universe we've created. And now the journey really begins for us, going back to the source. So this is where our journey begins in Frida, is going back to the source. So we can look at how we actually got to this point, how creation happened. So we can recreate more consciously, that's all, if you like, this kind of idea. So that's the representation of the poem. So I'm going to read the card out. We'll have a look at the card. This is the symbol. So for Nick, who doesn't know, there's 25 cards in Frido. There's 25 steps. So the poem that Mina read out actually goes through the 25 steps. It explains it in the poem, kind of briefly, the essence. And this is one of the steps, somewhere in the middle. And this is called positive. It used to be called love. It's also love, the love card. If it was a tarot pack, it would probably be called the love card. In Frido, we call it positive, because the reason why is because love is a little bit, I've forgotten the word to use, but subjective. It's kind of very subjective. So I don't usually use the words for the cards that are too subjective, because it has a very strong meaning for different people in different ways. So I try and use generic, more scientific kind of words for the cards. So that's positive energy. So we're going to have a look at that. So I'm just going to check in. Let's see, Adina, what do you see in this card for yourself?
So I see that there is a couple that is hugging tightly.
Oh,
like
that's me and you, babes.
In full harmony.
Oh no, that's not us. No, I'm joking.
Can you bring it closer to the screen? Thank you. And they're standing on a nice pedestal or something. So everything else around them is kind of red, and that's like, but there is innocence in the middle, harmony, and that around them there is passion. I'm just making this up now because I need to look up the card more closely, but I think that's what the feeling was when I looked it up online.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. For me, it's like even more than harmony. It's like becoming almost one. It's like when you're making love with someone, it's like you blend, like you just blend in, you become one kind of being. Almost forget there's two of you sometimes. That kind of amazing energy. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, I'll read the card out as well. So let's just have a little check in. Actually, we'll ask, let's ask Nina what she sees in that as well. Just anything that might come to you in that card. And your little one can as well, if wants to. Oh, you're on mute.
Do they stand on their toes?
Oh, I didn't want her to bother. Yeah, when I first saw the card, it to me it represented like a masculine and feminine energy merging into like one, like you said. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yes, it looked like the representation of masculine, feminine kind of merging into one. And the colors are very provocative, like that's the strong red and the purple is very intense. So there's an intensity with that kind of happening. with that merging into one.
Nice. And what does your little one think? What does she see?
Iris, what do you see in the picture? What do you see? She's a little bit shy to speak. Do you see anything? Do you want to say anything or no?
Not today. Maybe later. Okay, that's a pretty name, Iris. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this kind of feeling. And maybe I'll ask Nick as well. I'll throw Nick in the deep end a little bit as well. We'll have a final little sharing. What about you, Nick? What comes to you from that image? So you're on mute. I always put everyone on mute. I think you're still on mute. No.
Hey, so admittedly, for some reason, I can't see anyone's images. I can only hear audio. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up. I might need. I don't really use Zoom, so I don't know if I should rejoin, and maybe that'll fix the problem. Or
okay, well, don't worry too much. Don't worry. You can still just listen in audio. It's fine. That's okay, because we're going to go through some. What's that?
I just won't be able to see the card.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's up to you. You can try if you want to. Whatever you feel like. If you want to jump off and on again, you can try. Or is your camera actually on? I guess it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. Oh
yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'll try and jump. Try open a new one. I'm just rejoin.
I'll just keep an eye. Yeah, if not, don't worry too much. Okay. Oh, I'll let Nick back in again. He's just trying to get video on. Okay. Can you see us now, Nick, or not? No? Any luck?
Yep, I can see you all now.
Oh, cool. So there we go. So should we get rid of the other Nick? I don't know. I've got another Nick there as well.
No, that might be where I closed the window from the last one.
Oh, okay. Okay, it doesn't matter. Remove. Here we go. I can take that one off. Right, Nick, there we go. So anything that comes to you?
Well, that we both spring from the same source. I think that's expressed at the bottom, where there's the kind of unity, and that we are, although we experience ourselves as individual consciousness, we come from the same source, and we're kind of like that interacting with itself. And that's the kind of integrated kind of sense of, you know, our individuality coming together and the opposites of masculine and feminine. I think that's, but that they're at the heart actually unified. They're part of one, two sides of the same coin. That's all I've got at the moment.
Nice, very nice. We won't invite you back. You're too good. You're too good at this. Get rid of him.
Rude.
So that's nice, yeah, because that's a heart. It's supposed to be a heart at the bottom. Yeah. So it's kind of the two characters there spring from love, you know, spring from the heart. And obviously there's a kind of a separation, but in a way not, because they're as close as they possibly can be to being one, as close as possible. Yeah, so it's like when we're making love, like to someone we love or something, we're so close, you can't get any physically more close. So this is very much about the physical, to connect to positive energy and of course love energy. It's really trying to get as close as possible to another physical being without you can't be them, but as close as possible. And then something amazing happens because there's nothing in between them to interfere. Like there's no mind. There's no distractions. You know, as soon as they go that close together, they can really feel each other. They're getting no distractions in the middle. It's a pure communication. That's why, like if I said to you, hey, can you imagine what it feels like if I hugged you? or held your hand, you might be able to imagine it. But then if I then held your hand, it would be totally different. You know, you can't imagine, you can imagine the feeling, but it's completely different to the physical sensation of actually that feeling. So it's really, really powerful. And of course, some people have got the idea that babies can't survive without human touch. If you just think about that concept, like if baby's not getting any touch at all, it could die or deteriorate. Well, what happens if it's only getting 50% touch? It would deteriorate maybe 50% or 10, or if it's only getting 10%. And then as we grow up in our life, our body's no different. We still need that kind of somehow physical connection for some reason. And it's like, well, if we're not getting a lot, maybe we're deteriorating our energy, because this is about positive energy coming through the physical touch. It's quite interesting. And also what I love about this is it's because it's body language, this one. So it's not, the mind doesn't really have a place in this, you know, we don't make love, and well, sometimes we do, but make love and chat about business and chat about our day while we're making love. Or even when we're hugging somebody, you know, we're not usually hugging them and then chatting about stuff. You know, we're just hugging them. So there's a communication happening between the two bodies. And if you think about it, for most people, I would say they use their mind a lot in their life. You know, probably for many, many hours of the day is more mind. And in our lives, we're much more in our mind, which is nothing wrong with that. But we're not always enough in our body. We're in our body, of course, but we're not really in it. We're not feeling it. You know, often when we're in our mind or watching TV, we're not actually even sensing our physical being. That's why I've got a bad back now, or, you know, we've forgotten about our body. Suddenly our body reminds us, it's like, you know, take a deep breath suddenly. I've realized I haven't been breathing properly. Or I get a little pain in my back and it brings me back to the body again. It's like saying, hey. So this one is all about kind of getting into this positive energy through the mind, of course, but into the body. So we're going to now go on. I'll read the card. So positive love, I call it, positive love. So I want you to, just before I read the card, in Frido, Nick, we always choose a word to journey with, always. So, you know, it's like someone coming for a counselling. They'd say, hey, what's your issue? Let's talk about it. So we choose one word. We always choose one, only one, because it's simplicity in Frido that counts. And having more than one word can make things very, very complicated and not focused. So we always focus on always one. So think of a word, each of you, that you want to work with today's journey. What kind of word would you like to improve in a basic sense? That's what I would normally ask. What word would you like to improve more? And it can be any word you like, doesn't matter what. All right, so just have a little think about your words, all of you. And if you want to write it down, I would suggest, if you've got a pen and paper there, keep a couple of notes, unless you've got a very good memory. So pick a word. Is it going to be money, love, anxiety, smoking, drugs, joy, health, wealth, COVID, home, family, lover? Could be a name of somebody, if that's what you want to kind of, you know, improve that particular connection or understanding. Could be yourself, to choose your own name, could choose a body organ, anything you feel like that's important, I want to improve that area. It could be fear, depression, anxiety, anything you like. There's something that's important to you, obviously, that's you know, relevant in your life. And then what we'll do is we'll just go back, just say the word, so we're all on the same level playing field. So Nick, you're still on, so maybe you can share your word if you've got one.
I'm just trying to find a better word, because I don't think it's quite where I was going, but it's the closest I can find. Inhibition. Inhibition. Okay. If you can't find a better one, that's fine. You can stick with that one, or you can change it. That's cool. The thing is, it's amazing, because the challenge of just finding one word is a challenge in itself. Yeah. It's like the mind's going, what? I've got number one, I've got lots of words. Which one? I don't even know what one to start with, because there's loads.
Other people kind of have lots of words coming in. Then you get a word you think, not sure, it's not quite there. So it's quite interesting practice. So how about Mina, what's your word?
Gary, love.
Love. Gary, love, did you say?
Love. Love.
Your secrets are coming out. So, okay, love. We got love. And Lamore, what's your one word?
Self.
Self. Nice. Okay, beautiful. And Nina, what's your one word? You're mute.
Career.
Career. Iris, what's your one word?
I was asking to say it. What is your word? Do you have one?
Silence. That look could kill.
She's my Scorpio.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Scorpio.
Very cute. And Magic, what's your one word?
Addiction.
Addiction. I love it. I love that word. Adina?
It's health.
Health. Nice. Okay. And we got Limor. We got Harry.
And discipline.
Discipline. Okay, great words to work with today. So just imagine if those words, imagine if you were more of a master of those words, how that would feel in your life, how that would be, what it would look like. Because that's what we're aiming for, right? In the words is to improve them, improve our experience with those words. So imagine being able to master those words. So again, for Nick's, because he's here, it's like, it's logical, Frida. It's quite logical in many ways. It's abstract, definitely, sometimes, but it's very logical in the sense of you choose a word, you choose a subject. Instead of using maths and science, what you could do, you're choosing something more specific and also more relevant in your life, right now. It's something you want to improve, just like a subject you're going to learn at school or a sports, or a swimming lesson, you're there to improve that subject. You do the lesson, you improve, you get better, done. So that's all. It's really the basic principle. You're choosing your word. We're going to go through a journey. Hopefully you'll learn something more about your word than when you started, and that you keep on doing that in Frido. The logic is you're going to improve and you're going to eventually become more masterful of that word. But the thing is, most people in life don't choose words to really study. They kind of go into a robot, a program where they stop studying. In fact, often people stop studying. So we're kind of in a real studying kind of mode. So I'm going to read the card out now to you, and you may or may not relate it to your word. Okay, so don't worry if you don't, but if you do, that's great as well. Yeah. So this card, the positive, is the positive part of your word. In fact, the creative energy we get when we're in love with something, when we connect and express the part of ourselves that we love, we open our creativity beyond all limits. There is a positive in everything. Look for it, feel it, and sense it. For negative even to exist, there must be a positive. We may feel some resistance to this or unable to see the magic in our situations. We feel positive when we're dreaming up new ideas and desires. We feel inspired, excited, and motivated. So dig deep and open your mind to find this energy, for it's part of creation. Positivity is like making love to everything, conceiving new life. The affirmation is, I create a life of my choosing. I create a life of my choosing. So just let that sink in. Often with the readings, we'll sometimes come up with some resistance to what was being said or thoughts. So that's okay. It is part of the resistance family. It has so Nick, this is the female. The parent is called resistance. So if you like, the parent of this is resistance. The brother is called negative. So it's the opposite. There's polarity that runs through Frido a lot. There's always lots of brothers and sisters in each family. There's family. So this is a family of 3. Brother is negative, parent is resistance. If you like, you could view these as negative and positive, working together, like a battery. If you don't have negative in a battery, the battery don't work. Yeah. If you don't have positive, it doesn't work. Actually, they need each other to create a circuit.
You don't have a North Pole, you don't have a South Pole.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really bringing the negative and the positive together, and using them in a beautiful, in a positive way. In a positive way, I would say. That's all. Okay, so we're going to now do the first exercise, which is a mind exercise. So Frido always has, as everyone knows here, 3 different parts to the journey. We have the mind exercise, the body exercise, and the daily ritual. So we're going to go through those 3 now. So the first one, it's not a psychodrama exercise exactly, but it's a bit like an exercise, a little bit like that. It's like an inner dialogue. So we're going to be looking at parts of our, I wouldn't say psyche even, but our energy, different parts of our energy in this process, the positive part of our energy and the negative, let's say. So it's not exactly like Gestalt therapy, this one, or voice dialogue, where we do the psychodrama exercises and we go into different parts of our archetypes and different parts of our personality. This is really going into the 2 energies that coexist in our system. It's positive and negative energy. And we're going to try and focus on those 2 while we're doing the mind exercise. So the first thing is to help us find an object, any object that can represent your symbol for you. We always use objects because it helps us focus our mind and body on what we're doing. And of course, the objects have information just by themselves. And then we want to find 2 more objects to represent the positive, just positive energy.
Okay, this is positive. So I'm looking for.
So you've got one. So you've got your first one just represents the word that you've chosen for today. I call that your symbol. So the original words you've chosen today that you're working with, you've each got a different word. Choose an object to represent that word, which I call your symbol. And then another 2 different objects that just represent positive energy.
2 different objects.
Yeah, just 2 different ones.
Okay,
you got it all. Yeah, you all got that. And then finally, you're just relaxing. One more, the final one that represents negative energy for you. So one more object that represents negative energy. Getting all.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, right, you got that. And most of you know already in Frido, we use objects only because it can ground us, it can focus our minds and our body, in fact, onto the subject that we're talking about. And also the objects do hold information if you were to look at them. Some of the journeys we really do go into looking at the objects and finding out information. It's psychic, it's a psychic journey we do. It's one of the journeys. So we're going to start off by holding, first of all, just hold your symbol, your first object to represent your first word, your symbol, and just start to feel into that first of all. Okay, now what we do normally in Frido, sometimes we move positions, but we don't have to. That's why also we use the objects. Sometimes it helps when we're working on certain parts of our energy or we want to isolate a particular part of ourselves. Sometimes it really helps to move into a different space in the room where we can just say, right, when I'm in that space, I'm just talking from this part, and that can really help physically. So I often do that if I'm doing a live group, like in person, but we're going to use the objects to do that. It's just as powerful. So while you're holding your symbol, you're kind of connecting to that energy of the word. Okay, you can feel that. It feels a little bit different. It feels kind of, yeah, that's it. And now I want you to kind of put that one down, and I want you to pick up the first positive symbol, one of your positive symbols. Choose one of them to begin with. Okay, now this is going to connect you just to your positive. That's all. It might be difficult sometimes, some might not be, but that's your positive energy. Its purpose is to keep you in this energy of positive right now. Anything coming out of your mouth needs to be positive, right? You are positive, 100% positive, no negativity, only positive right now. So tune into that part of you and just kind of ask yourself the question, what's positive about your symbol? Well, I'll ask you the question. So have a think about it. What's positive about your symbol? You can look at your object you've chosen for your symbol, because that might give you a clue, or you don't have to. It could be just the word you've chosen. So think about what's positive about it, and maybe just write down very quickly, like briefly, just a few words if you want, because you might want to remember it later. Just a few words, what's positive about your symbol, in just like a small sentence, just so it jars your memory. We don't like to use too many words in Frido, just enough to kind of, yeah, I know what I mean. This kind of feeling. And then the next question I'm going to ask is, like, why is that positive? So why is that positive? You said what's positive about it, and now why is that positive, what you just wrote down? And maybe you can write that down as well if you want.
I'm expressing this, or I'm just writing it down?
You can, at the moment, just write it. I'm just guiding people through this process first of all, so you kind of understand the process. Because Nick, I'm talking to everyone anyway. Like I'm talking to, yeah. I know you're special.
Getting used to the format. Sorry.
That's cool. Yeah. So why is that positive? Right now, we're going to swap the positive objects, and you're going to pick up your negative object. So now you're going to tune into your negative energy. So everything coming out of your mouth now needs to be negative. So it gets a bit complicated now, because I'm going to ask you the negative energy. What's negative about the positive? So what's negative about all those positive things you just wrote down? You know, it gets a bit complex in some of these exercises. Most of you understand it because last week we did the proper theory of this. We did the writing of it all. So you kind of get it already. But we're going to, after we've done this little writing, we're going to go into the more expressing, which you'll see. So what's negative? And then the second question is, why is that negative? So in other words, the negative you just wrote, why is that negative? I think all of you were here last week, so I think you might know, you recognize what we're doing, similar to the exercise last week. Okay, and then again, just be brief with your answers. And then the final two questions are, what is positive about the negative you just wrote down? So some of you probably recognize this kind of format at the moment. And then finally, it's like, why is that positive? What you literally just wrote down, why is that positive?
Barry?
Yes.
After the negatives, do we have two positive or only one?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, my mistake. Yeah, sorry, it's okay. I would have asked you to pick up your second positive objects to answer the last two questions. So sorry about that. I don't think I did ask you that. So my error. So yeah, when I asked you the question, what is positive about the negative, you should be holding your positive symbol. That's your second positive symbol. I mean, you don't have to. Of course, you can still do it without it, and you probably have done, but it just can help sometimes. And then that why is that positive is that final one. Okay, now once you've done that, I'm going to now be kind of going through a couple of you so we can actually get an experience of that as well. So I'm gonna start off with Adina. I'll wait till yeah, there she is.
Yeah, hi, sorry, can you just leave me out because I think I'm gonna have to go because I'm not feeling okay, so I'll just catch up on the recording.
No problem at all. I wish you well.
Okie doke. See you next time, everyone.
All right, speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
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 Okay, so all right, let's do magic.
Yes. So,
yeah. Right. So don't look at your paper now. You don't need to look at it. You don't need to answer those questions now. That's just for your reference. If you want to look at it, we'll ask you fresh. So just speak to me freshly from your mind. So first of all, I'm going to ask you is what's positive about your symbol, magic? Just in.
So positive is having fun. It's fun, actually.
Having fun. What is your symbol?
Addiction.
Addiction. So it's having fun. Why is that positive? Having fun.
Yeah, because it's sometimes can give you like a break of your life. If you have if you are troubled with something and you are grabbing some, I don't know, smoking, drinking or whatever, you can have fun and forget about what is really the problem.
I get it. That's nice. Feels good. Nice and fun. And what's negative about all that? Having all that fun and forgetting about everything.
Yes, so it's that you lose your focus actually on something what is important in your life at the moment.
Yeah, and why is that? Why is that negative? Losing your focus and all that kind of stuff that you just said.
Yeah, so it can bring you more into trouble or into depressive state.
Sorry, say that again. So let me just check back. So you said what's negative is losing focus. And why is that negative? Did you say? Can you repeat that?
Negative is because you can actually lose your focus on your life of what really is important instead of having just fun.
Yeah, but why is that? Why is that negative? Losing focus on what's important in your life.
So the negative side of it, I will say, is that if you will enjoy too much, yeah, if you will be addicted too much, you can repeat it, yeah, and again you can lose actually that what is happening and what is really important in your life.
Oh yeah, and what's bad about losing what's really important in your life?
That you will be disconnected from the reality.
Okay, cool. That's perfect. And now, what's positive about all that negative stuff you just said? You know, losing focus, losing sense of reality, losing what's important to you. What's positive about all that?
I will say it's like taking the second breath, having time to think about it.
Yeah, okay. And why is that positive? Second breath, having time to think about it.
Of course, this is positive from this perspective that you will not be in the state all the time of worrying about.
Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. So that's okay. That's interesting. So it's a bit of a mind, mess. This one always, yeah. Last week it was also a bit like that, because it's kind of a bit confusing. It's like what's negative? It's negative, then it's suddenly positive, and then it's suddenly negative again. But this is great because, as you know from last week, it starts to break the polarity. You're being stuck on one side or the other. That's what causes this the resistance always, because we're stuck on either positive or negative. Oh, addiction. Addiction is like, oh, I hate it. It's ruining my life, but I can't stop myself because there's something in it that I like, but I refuse to kind of sometimes see the value of it. I might, oh no, it's no value in it, but I keep on doing it because I feel good. I want to forget about the stress. And we end up in this conflict. And by expressing that, you can actually honor all those different viewpoints. You can say, hey, addiction, it gets me out of it. I get out of my head, get out of my stress. I like it. I like the feeling. I'm not thinking about anything right now. Got no inhibitions. No inhibitions. I can just chill, man. And it's like, that's great. Honor that. And it's like, then honor the negative. But when I'm like this, I obviously can't focus. I can't do what I want to do. All this kind of stuff. It's really honoring, the different positive and negative feelings and viewpoints we've got. Because remember last week, once we become enemies with one, like we side with the positive or we side with the negative, we create conflicts. It's like, they can both coexist. And by just us accepting both viewpoints, there's no conflict anymore. It's just a choice. That's all. Because we're not idiots. We know if we're smoking weed all the time, we can't focus on our work. We know that already, but we don't want to beat ourselves up over it. We'll just say, well, we know that. Fair play. But I'm choosing to smoke right now. That's all. So it becomes like just a choice then rather than a fight. We're always having this fight inside us. And then we feel guilty. Oh, we shouldn't have done that. And then we get into a whole mess of negative and positive energy. So that's great. Nick, I'm going to ask you some questions like this as well. So you don't need to look at your paper now. We'll just kind of start fresh, whatever comes to you. And it's the same process. I'll say, first of all, just give me something. What's positive about your symbol? Just tell us what your symbol is and what's positive about it.
So that's the first one we chose, right?
Yes, your symbol is what you're working on today.
It's kind of protective in a sense.
What is it, by the way? So everyone knows.
Inhibition, so being inhibited.
Okay, yeah.
Has served me in the sense that in difficult situations, it's allowed me to protect myself, I guess.
I get it. I get it. Why is that positive?
Yeah.
Why is that positive?
Because at that time it served the purpose and I got through those situations.
That's cool.
So that's positive, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now, what's negative about what you just said? Protecting yourself, and all this kind of business.
It's going into this defense mode too often and not really actually being able to open and connect. Because it's just kind of a closed off reality.
And why is that negative? Why is that negative?
Because there's fear of trusting and intimacy and opening up and connection. So that's negative because it often creates a sense of isolation.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, it makes sense. And what's positive about all that negative stuff? About isolation and whatever it was, trust, isolation, disconnection.
Well, the positive is that I can be quite comfortable. I'm enjoying my own company and can engage in things without feeling the need for other people at the same time.
That's cool.
Although I do enjoy connection.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And why is that positive?
Because it allows me to self-reflect.
Nice. Yeah, perfect. So it's a funny old thing, this process. It's kind of going from, yeah, it's quite interesting. Like suddenly we're looking at the negative and then we're seeing the value of that negative, because the positive one is actually about seeing value. So what happens is we start off, sometimes we get in a conflict to begin with, because first of all, we're thinking, well, that's positive. Okay, so we might, like addiction, for example, with Magic's one. It's like sometimes we're thinking, oh, it's positive. You know, I like this vibe. I like this feeling. And then we're not necessarily always seeing the negative until it's too late sometimes, but we're not kind of observing. Well, it's also, it's a negative of maybe doing the smoking, but then we look at the positive of that negative and it's all right again. It all becomes okay again. So it's like, well, it's like, I was right in the first place. I just wanted to smoke a bit of weed. It's like, that's fine. There's a negative about it, but then there's a positive about that negative. So something it's still okay to do. And that's amazing, to give ourselves permission in our head to recognize that, you know, because otherwise what we do is we tend to get stuck on just the negative part. Is I'm smoking, but I'm feeling shit about it. You know, because I'm just feeling the bad stuff is over here, the good's over here. And it's like, or the opposite. But in this case, it's I'm doing something positive, but I've got this negative thing in the back of my head. It's like, because it's, you know, it's like it's something not good about it. But once we go a bit further and see, well, what's good about that negative, it kind of neutralizes it again. And it's like, well, it's all good. Even the negative thoughts are still good to have them. So it kind of, it's encompassing all of it. And we come out of conflict. So this process is to come out, to make everything, this is all about positivity, right? It's about creating positive. We're finding the value not only in the positive, but also in the negative. That's what we've just done here.
Is it kind of like bringing you back to center and then it puts you back in a point of choice? Is that kind of where? Yeah,
exactly. It's just a choice, right? Isn't it? It's a choice because there's a negative and positive in everything, single thing we're doing. So it's just having that freedom and saying, I'm just choosing this, you know, and actually being okay about it, because you've just realized now all the negative things about that choice, there's also a positive in. So suddenly it's all, we're sandwiching the negative in positive. We're making the negative positive in this process as well. So it's all about generating energy. You know, rather than me talking to my mother and saying something positive and she just sees negative, it kind of creates conflict. Instead, I'm seeing her negative comment as a positive thing. There's value in what she's saying. There's a value in what she's saying. So if I say I'm going to go and live in Thailand or go on holiday and she's negative about it and says, oh, that's bad, you know, the COVID and the mosquitoes, rather than me going against that, which I would have done in the past, right, argument, I'll look at it and think, oh, what's positive about what she's saying? It's brilliant. It turns her negative, which I'd normally have resistance with, into a positive. I've now got two positives, my positive about going to Thailand and my positive about her saying to me, be careful, the mosquitoes, and have you got enough money, and and I'm seeing that as all positive. It's like, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll take some mosquito spray, make sure I've got some money. You know, she's making me aware. Maybe I know it already, but it's validating already what I know. It's like, oh, thanks, Mum. I knew that, but thanks for reminding me. So suddenly I'm changing that whole conversation into something which is generating more energy rather than conflicting and draining energy. Amazing. You can use this technique in any conversation with yourself or with others, kind of by just accepting, you know, this kind of process. So let's go around again. We'll check in. Let's go to Nina. We'll do this process with.
So my word was career.
Career. What's positive about career? Something.
New experiences.
And why is that positive? New experiences?
Learning, connecting, exploring.
Beautiful. Really good. Like lovely and positive energy. Okay, what's negative about all that, what you just said? New change, exploring,
Monotonous routine, vulnerable, and
oh, sorry. So wait a minute. So it's what's a monotonous routine?
Oh, so I was going, so for learning, I guess I was saying the opposite, the negative of learning.
Okay, so come, wait a minute. I've forgotten your word again. What was your word?
Career.
Career. So then you said learning is a good thing, and now you're saying the negative about learning, okay, is monotonous. I get it now. I'm with you. Sorry, I'm a bit slow. So yeah, negative is monotonous, the learning, and it's a bit scared. You said vulnerable because you're changing. You mentioned vulnerable is negative. Okay, so why is that? Why is that negative? Why is that monotony and that vulnerability negative?
The monotony, I guess it causes me to be bored and lose creativity.
Yep. And the vulnerability?
It is uncomfortable and it forces me into a space that I'm not comfortable, or I feel drained from having to be in the presence of others.
Yeah. So that's amazing, isn't it? If you just look at that process, we haven't gone through the last bit yet, but that process of those two things, it's like you want to sometimes change your career because you want to learn, you want something different, and this is exciting, and it's a bit maybe exciting, this kind of feeling, but then your negative energy comes in and says, I'm a bit scared about that, I'm a bit bored about the learning, it's boring me now. And and so it's a bit of a conflict going on there. So you end up procrastinating, right? You end up not doing anything. But let's go a bit further. Let's go in and say, well, what's positive about all that negative stuff you just said, about the vulnerability, about the monotony?
Growth, love, freedom. And
yeah, and why is that all positive? Growth, love, and freedom.
I get to grow through discipline and routine. I feel like I may, through challenging or allowing myself to be vulnerable, I may connect or find that, like what the card represents, that positive, that love, a sense of freedom, I guess, from allowing myself to be vulnerable.
Yeah. So by allowing your negative thoughts and feelings of being vulnerable, of being bored, actually can lead to all that amazing stuff at the end of it. You know, that's the amazing thing about this. But when we're not recognizing that and feeling it, we're getting stuck, we're procrastinating, we're getting stuck on the first level, which is just like, I want to leave my job, I want a new job. But actually we never do, because we can only feel the negativity of that. Like the vulnerable, I'm going to feel vulnerable, I'm going to feel this, I'm going to feel that. It's going to be boring again, the learning again, I've got to learn again. But now you've gone further and you've seen, actually, all that negative stuff can be very positive. And you suddenly can switch your head into it, even though it's negative, but it's not really, because now you're seeing it as a value and to get to where you want to go. That's great. Yeah, really good. It's a good observation. So what about Harry? What you got? What's your word and what's positive about it?
The word's discipline, and what's positive is it's going to move me in a good way.
Okay, and it's good. So it's going to move you in a good way. And why is that positive, moving you in a good way?
Because I feel like that's going to make me fulfilled and happy.
Okay, and what's negative about moving you in a good way and being fulfilled and happy?
Well, nothing if you really think about it, but then maybe the negative of that could be that maybe it won't.
Oh,
maybe it won't make me happy. Yeah.
Okay, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. So the negative could be you could do all that and get to the end and you're not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that negative? Getting to the end of all that and not being happy. Why would that be?
I feel like I've wasted my time if that does happen.
Got you. Yeah. Wasting your time. And what's positive about not being happy at the end of all that and feeling like you've wasted your time? What's the positive thing about that?
Oh, the positive is that I'd have realised the lesson and changed it to become happy again.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And why is that positive? Why is that positive? Changing it so you can learn and become happy again.
Because then I would have corrected my ways to what I want to be happy. So I'm correcting myself all the time.
Okay. Yeah, and
Kind of,
sorry, I'll ask that one again. So, why is correcting yourself and being happy all the time? Why is that positive?
Because that's what I like to be like, happy, I guess, as much as I can be.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool. Okay. So I'm just going to review that. That's about your discipline. So it's you're disciplining because you want to do something, get happy. The negative could be at the end of it, if it doesn't pan out and it kind of, oh shit. But then the positive about that is you learn, and then you get back on the saddle again and you do a better job. Yeah, that's nice. Makes sense, right, to you? Yeah, that's how you roll normally, isn't it? That's how you like to roll. Get on the saddle, go for a ride. If you fall off, you just...
So be it. I just learned a powerful lesson, and I'll change it, course correct, hopefully. And there's no such thing as bad things.
No, exactly. Yeah, choose to ride, and then you choose to ride a pony instead next time, instead of the wild stallion. So that's cool. Okay, Mina, what you got for us? So word, and what's positive about your word?
My symbol is love.
Try not to look at the paper too much. Try, because we did a lot of writing last week, so we try to now embody it. Like I'm just talking to you as a friend. I'm saying, okay, what's positive about your symbol?
It's beautiful. Nice feeling for my symbol love. And positive about that is make me feel wanted.
Oh, nice. Why is that positive, making you feel wanted?
So I know there's someone here that make me feel wanted, like I have someone.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's nice and positive. What's negative about all that? Feeling wanted and having somebody there to make you feel wanted. What's negative about that?
It can take me away from reality and put me in a bubble of dreams. Okay,
and why is that negative? Taking you out of reality and being in a bubble of dreams.
Then if I do get carried away and if it doesn't work, that is very draining.
Okay, I get it. And finally, what's positive about that? Like the draining and all this kind of stuff.
The positive about it is then it teaches me that I'm more important than anyone else. So
oh, nice.
I have to focus on myself.
And why is that positive then? You're important than anyone else, and
to build my self-confidence.
Okay.
About self-love.
Okay, that's beautiful. It sounds really nice. Do you resonate with that whole conversation? Yes. Can you see how that actually has played out in your life, like connected to your life?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's great, because now you can say, actually, all the negative things about being wanted, it's still kind of, there's a value. There's been a value there because you've learned to love yourself. Yeah. Or you're learning, each time you're learning more and more to love yourself. So those without the negatives, you wouldn't have known that maybe. So that's a really good thing. So sometimes, so you can look back in your life and think all those negative experiences actually, strengthened me. They taught, there was some positivity there because it taught me that I'm the most important person. All those relationships you had has taught you now, eventually, that actually you're the most important person in that relationship. So that's very beautiful. Hallelujah. Nice to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Limor.
My symbol was self.
Soul.
Self. Lost soul.
Self. Okay, so what's positive about yourself?
What's positive? Do I need to look in my papers?
No, you definitely don't want to look in your paper. If you can't remember what's positive about yourself.
I'm joking. Well, there's so many things. I mean, what's positive about me? That I'm creative.
Oh, nice. Okay. And why is that positive?
Because it keeps me occupied. Keeps my mind occupied. Yeah.
Oh, I see. And what's negative about being creative and an occupied mind?
That I don't have a lot of time for other things.
Okay, and what's negative about that? Not having time for
I
other
don't have
things.
lots of social life.
Right. Okay. And what's positive about not having time for your social life? What's positive about that?
That I have more time for myself.
Okay. And what's and why? Why is that positive?
So then I can go deeper.
Okay. All right. Nice. Yeah. Anything come to you from that? Don't worry if it hasn't. Just curious.
What do you mean? Anything?
I don't know. Did you get anything from that chatting about it?
It just feels. I feel really comfortable today. Today I just feel really. I was happy getting up in the morning, and I just feel I arrived somewhere. You know what I mean? I'm just like.
Yeah.
I've been searching, and I was feeling lots of things. Now I feel like I came to like a flat place. Like I arrived.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Sometimes for me, discipline is kind of like that vibe. It's like you're just like an accountant. It's not that it's exciting or creative, but it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to continue doing it. And then I'm going to finish, it's the discipline of just doing.
Yeah.
So, eating. The funny thing is we've all got discipline, right? If you didn't have discipline, you wouldn't even finish your meal because you've got to have a level of discipline to continue anything in your life. Everything, weirdly enough, but we don't recognize it as discipline because we view discipline as being something hard. That's the trap. I remember my ex-wife, she used to go to the gym every morning since she was young, 5 days a week, come rain or shine, if she was sick or not. And I used to go, blimey, me and the kids used to say, she's so disciplined, mum is. But I realized it wasn't discipline. One was habit. She just got into a habit. But the other thing was she just enjoyed what she enjoyed it. She enjoyed what she was doing. She actually liked going to the gym. She loved it. So in other words, it wasn't hard for her to go, because I was thinking, how can she go to the gym on a dark morning when she's not feeling well? Because she loved it so much, it didn't matter to her. And it was just a routine. She just gets up, puts her coat on, doesn't start thinking, oh, I'm cold, or this is hard. It didn't come into it. It was so natural. It's like, no, I'm just getting up, put my coat on, go to the gym. It's like discipline is just kind of doing something without actually making it a problem. But we call it discipline and we say it's discipline because it's hard, but it's not actually. Hard is hard. That's what makes discipline hard, because we're saying it's hard rather than just saying it's just a action. It's just a routine or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can I just say something?
Sure.
I just noticed this week as well. I don't know exactly what caused that, but I just realized that I really like it easy. Just noticing that I always trying to do things hard way, but I actually like it easy.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I think a lot of people do as well. Not everyone, but it's like you get out of bed in the morning and you could be tired, right? You might not want to get out of bed. You're not motivated and you need to do something. And it becomes kind of quite hard. But the funny thing is, it's not really, is it? Not for the body. The body doesn't make any difference, does it? The body's still using exactly the same muscles to get out of bed, whether you're stressing about it or not. Basically, there's not a lot of difference. It's like if we just stop thinking about it, the body's still got to get out of bed, still got to use its muscles. It's still got to go and cook something or get dressed or have a shower. But it's like we make a big business about it. So, I need so much discipline to do this. Well, not really. You just do it. Of course you can do it easily. If you stop thinking about it, you can do it easily. The body could just go and do it. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Have we just covered everyone on that process? Just checking in. Okay. So that was the mind process of creating more positive energy, right? We're getting the two different sides, the negative and the positive now both to generate positive energy, just like a battery. So in our mind. So by doing that particular process, we're literally using the positive and negative thoughts to actually generate more energy. We've just done that, more positivity, more energy. So we're going to now go on to the body exercise for this card. And I call this hugging. So it's very different to the mind exercise we've just done. So just begin to feel your symbol inside you, inside your own body. Just start to sense it. Because we've done the mind exercise, you might be able to sense it a little bit more, the words you've chosen for today. Just begin to feel them. Don't kind of assume what they should feel like or shouldn't, but just kind of practice. It might be a weird feeling for some people. It's like, I don't know what that feels like even. I'm not even sure if it's inside me, but just kind of have a little feel into it and begin to feel, oh, what's it feeling like right now? Not what you assume it feels like, but what it's actually feeling like. And start to hug yourself. You know, start to touch or hug yourself, different parts of your body maybe. You know, hugging your shoulders or hugging your legs, hugging your hands. We're just using like a hugging principle to hug different parts of our body. Imagine different parts of your body are like little babies, like individual children of yours, and you're giving them all a little nice hug. Maybe your leg needs a hug, or your foot needs a hug, your hand or your neck needs a hug, or your face needs a hug. How beautiful is that, right? You're hugging different parts of your body. I mean, that by itself is so beautiful anyway. But at the same time, you're just kind of feeling your symbol inside you while you're doing it. So don't overthink it, but just kind of that intention. You are feeling your symbol while you're hugging yourself. In actual fact, you're hugging your symbol, right, as a physical body. That's where we're going with this. You're beginning to hug your physical body actually as the physical body of your symbol you've chosen. So just tune into that a little bit. You know, we don't need to go super deep. Frido's never about going overdone, because we can do this again and again. So it's a continuous practice. And it's the concept. We're just hugging different parts of our physical body, of our symbol. Remember, Frida's about embodying our symbols. If we want to be happy, imagine we could just create a body of happiness. Like our body suddenly becomes a body of happiness, or a body of discipline. Imagine that. You can just be a body of discipline, and everything about your body suddenly becomes discipline. Of course, it's the body of discipline, or the body of love. That's beautiful, right? Body of love. It changes everything. How you feel, how you behave then. Of course it does. You become a different body in that moment. So you're just becoming a body of your symbol right now by hugging. It helps bring your symbol into alive. Remember, the baby doesn't get touched, it dies. If we don't touch our symbol and make it feel physical, it won't be there. It won't be physical. Makes sense, right? If we can't physically touch our own symbol, have a sense of what it feels like as a physical body, then it won't be a physical body. It would just be an idea stuck in the mental mind. We want to bring it into our reality. So we've got to make it into a body through touch. It's so simple, right? It's very, very simple, actually. It's really simple. It's so good as well, hugging yourself, especially when it's your symbol. It's so amazing. It starts to generate more energy. Of course, it brings you into connection. I mean, hug all parts of your body, because as you're hugging them, if you're not hugging your ears, for example, your symbol won't be able to hear. If it hasn't got any ears, it won't be able to hear anything. It won't be able to listen. Sounds stupid, but that's the concept. So every time you're hugging a different part of your body, you're bringing it more alive. You're bringing your symbol more into being a body. You're giving it ears by hugging your ears, its ears. You're giving it hair. You're giving it a chest, a heart, arms, legs. You know, you want your symbol to have legs so it can move. It can do things. And then continue to do that for a minute. And then what I normally do is if I'm in a physical group with people, face to face, live, we then do it with other people, and that's beautiful. So you can do this in your life. Actually, you don't even have to tell them. Like if you've got a partner or even your child or anybody, you can just imagine that they're your symbol and give them a hug. Same idea, but you're now doing it to another body, and you'll feel like what it feels like from a different perspective. So those of you with children, do it with your kids. So you don't have to. You could tell them, or you could not. The kids probably think it's fun. They can just be your symbol for that process, and then you start giving them a hug, their arms, hug their heads, or if it's somebody, a friend or a partner. Sometimes I do it with my partner. I don't tell her. It's amazing. She becomes my love symbol. She doesn't know it. And I'm hugging her as my love symbol. And it's like, wow, this is so beautiful. It like brings my love symbol alive inside her. It's beautiful. So that's really, really amazing body exercise, that one. And now we can stop that for a moment. We're going to now, that's the body exercise. It's a lot of fun when we do it physically in a group because we're all hugging each other. It's always good fun as well. And it's very powerful. But we're going to now go on to the ritual. So the ritual in Frido, for those of you who don't know, I'll check in. Harry, why has Frido got a ritual?
Just to keep a practice, because if you just do it one off, you don't really, you'll forget about it. You've got to keep doing things over and over again.
Brilliant, well done. You've made amends from not knowing anything about the poem.
Yeah.
You're back up there, back at the top of the game. Yeah, exactly. The ritual is a ritual, isn't it? It's a habit. It's creating a habit. And something the rituals are designed to be simple. They bring the mind and body exercise that we've just done into one simple exercise that we can do anywhere, anytime in the world. And they're amazing. And again, for those of you who don't know, you can go onto the website. Most of you know this already, and go onto Free Play, and you can find this card, Positive, and you can click on the ritual, and it will go through the ritual. Actually, it goes through all of these, so you can use it as a resource. Nick, you can use it as a resource. It's got all the cards on there, and every card, I've got the video for every journey, like we're doing now, goes through it all, and it's got the separate. So you could have a reading, you can do the journey, which is the exercises we just did, or you can do a ritual. And I use them a lot myself. Every night usually I put a ritual on because I like to just do the ritual. The rituals are also designed. They're designed to obviously connect you to your symbol that you're working with. So you're working with it during that ritual. It's also developing your human abilities. That's what Frido is also about. It's not just learning to master your symbol, but in the same process, we're developing our abilities as a human being. So they're all designed to enhance our abilities, our different parts of our brain, our breath work, the breath work ones for our breathing. So we become more, our bodies become more developed in their abilities, this kind of thing, our brain does. So that's what the rituals do as well as a process. So we're going to go on to the ritual now. And what I do is it's really nice. And the reason I created this ritual, I was thinking about babies, with the whole touch thing. And then I was thinking, when the parents leave the babies in the cot, they're not very happy. A lot of parents, new age parents, have the baby with them the whole time. In fact, there are some theories you keep it with you all the time until it's grown up and wants to go. But as long as it wants to be with you, you keep it with you. But there is that kind of thing, isn't there? Like we put it in the cot as soon as we can, close the door and hope it doesn't cry. It's like, why is it crying? It wants to be with you. It's like, why else is it crying? Like you might think, oh, it's not hungry, it's eaten. Oh, it's not, oh, it's done a poo. And it's like the most obvious thing, it wants to be held. Everyone knows that, in fact, but it's like a thing. So, well, we can't hold the baby. We're not getting into those habits. It's a bizarre thing. And we keep, no, we're not touching the baby. It's like, so then what happens is we give the baby something to hug instead. We say, here, stick a dummy in its mouth. That'll make you feel better. And this, and it does. Actually, it does. It's not the same. In fact, it's not the same because the baby wants its parents or, you know, this kind of contact, but it does help. And the baby ends up having that in the pretend parent, the substitute parent. And in its life, it really clings on to that, right? And then what happens when it gets to 3, they take it away. You can't have that. You're not a baby anymore. You know, you're going to school, you can't take that with you. It's like, this is mental because this is called a soother. You know, when they put the soother in their mouth, they call it a soother or something like this. It's to soothe them. And it really works, right? It's like bizarre. No, take another thing away. You know, we mustn't feel connected or love, or and God forbid, you know, we feel safe and comfortable and love. So Frido brings a lot of things back. You'll notice in some of the journeys, and this is one of them. Bring back the soothers. You know, bring back the things that make us feel, you know, cuddly and happy. And the thing is, what we do is in the ritual, to choose something for yourself that represents your symbol. It could be something that you've chosen already, like the object, or it could be something softer. I'd normally say go for something soft only because it makes sense, you know, as a soother. You don't have to, but it's something you kind of feel like you can kind of, you know, hug up to. So find yourself a little object now, because we'll do the ritual for a minute or so. Nick, because this is the training, we don't do anything for too long. Because it's a training. It's not like a session as such. So it's just to give you the concepts and then you go off and practice them.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea, so we're not going. So yeah, so pick yourself an object that represents your symbol. Yeah, that makes you feel, you know, that's nice. And then just begin to kind of connect to it physically. I mean, this is a wonderful practice to when you're in bed at night. Or any time for that matter, but you know, I like it in bed at night because I feel like, oh, I want to kind of, you know, I don't need to think about anything else. So we've got our all our symbols. So we start hugging them, you know, touch. This isn't just about hugging now. This is just about any kind of touch. I've noticed when I do my body work sessions, I do healing massage as well. It's based on this card, in fact. The body work that I do is based on this card, and I do the massage on my clients, and I've realized the power is just the touching. It can be touching like that. It can be touching like that. It can be firm touching, soft touching. It doesn't matter what touching I've noticed. It's all amazing healing because you've got Chinese massage therapies. You've got soft, you've got so many kinds, but it's all touch. That's the key. And I find that if I just let my hands do their thing and I don't involve myself in thinking what I should be doing or not, the hands do what they need to do because they know. Our physical body knows better than our mind what the body needs. That's what I've learned. It's very hard to understand that the body's a different language. If you just stop thinking while you're touching and just allow the body to have its own experience without your mind interfering. And when you're cuddling someone, like when you're cuddling your child, like don't think about it. Just kind of just do the touching, stroking the hair, touching the feet. This is really powerful. And remember what you're doing as well. You're connecting on a physical level to your symbol here. You're bringing it more alive. You're making more physical connection to it. That's why we're using an object. It's given us a sense of physicality. Remember, if you just try to imagine it, you wouldn't be able to actually physically feel something at the same time. This is super, super powerful, this. Like if you want to connect in your life to love, just choose your object to be love for that evening and hug love. If you haven't got a real person, just use some kind of object. And the amazing thing is when we work with negative symbols like fear, anxiety, addiction. See, it's hard. It's weird for Magic because he's working with addiction, right? And most people say you don't want to be, hugging addiction for goodness sakes. You don't want to be love, like having that bond. But in actual fact, we do because we want to be embodying everything. When we embody the negative energies, most of us know this already. We actually become master of that energy by embodying it. But normally we don't want to embody it, so we run away from it. We steer clear of it. But it's when we embody it, we take control then, because we embody it. It's like putting a coat on, putting your clothes on, and imagine your clothes are anything, fear, anxiety, but you're now wearing the clothes. They got no power over you. You got control over them. You get up, they get up. You get up, your anxiety gets up. You smile, your anxiety smiles with you. This is the bizarre thing. It's about changing those old stupid symbols, what they've been led us to believe, and we're going to change them and make them our own. We're changing those symbols that aren't serving us anymore. We're changing them. You could put fear on. Imagine your clothes of fear. They've got no power over you. Nothing. They're just on you. They rely on you, in fact, to have an experience. I can get up, I can walk with it. It's not pulling me down. It's not freezing my muscles. I'm in charge of fear because I've embodied fear. So this is about embodiment. And of course, the positive symbol's the same. So what we're doing here is we're actually putting positive energy. We're making all our symbols, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, we're giving the positive energy through this touching energy, through this love energy. Yeah, it's just amazing. And the amazing thing is, love, in my experience, especially with my recent partner, we can just make love, and it doesn't have to be anything particular, special. There doesn't have to be anything at all, just touching. That's all. I'm happy that we're just touching. That's it. Beautiful. We're making love. We're just touching, holding hands. And it's beautiful because it takes all that weirdness away. Like, what should it be? What shouldn't love be? Just touching. That's all it is. Very simple. Love is very simple. Well, it can be, should be. So there's a ritual for you to kind of practice. That's cool. Then we're going to kind of go on to the last two things to complete our journey today, and that is the learning. So just write down a very, 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 very short sentence, 5 or 6 or 7 words, if you can, to sum up your key learning for your journey today. So this is the critical part of the journey. It's like, that was great, Gary, but what on earth have I learned today? And often we leave a workshop not really being clear about what we've learned. And if we're not clear about it, it's a waste. We're not going to take it with us. So it's just a practice for us to kind of, what's my key learning today? Just the main key learning for myself. Don't worry about too many. If you want to brainstorm it, of course you can. If you've got 5 learnings, you just want to brainstorm and put them down. But eventually just get the one, choose one to focus on. And remember, don't make it complicated. Keep it simple, whatever comes to you. It could be something very, very simple, or it could be something really big and sort of complex, but it doesn't matter. Whatever comes to you, it's all perfect for this moment. That's another really good learning that I found. It's like I used to go to a lot of workshops and I think, oh my goodness, I need to learn a lot. I need to learn a lot. I'm not learning enough. I'll go to a workshop. And then I suddenly realized the power of just learning one little tiny thing. It's like, if I walk away from a whole day's workshop knowing one little tiny thing, I'm a happy man. Because I used to give myself pressure thinking I've got to learn such a lot from reading that book. But actually, the beauty of learning is recognizing the small things. Sometimes the tiniest things. Otherwise, we go through life never thinking we're really learning much, because we're measuring our learning on something big, an expectation of some kind. No, the tiniest learnings are so powerful. Okay, so once you've got, don't over focus on that one, but once you've got that learning, we're going to turn it into our affirmation. So for Nick, we're going to now change that learning. We're going to make it into like a very short 2 or 3 words, like I am beautiful, or I am disciplined, or something to this effect, like we're doing it. So the learning has been learnt, and those 3 words are saying, yep, I got it, we're doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it if I asked you. That's what it would sound like. So it's to convince the mind, hypnotize the mind. In fact, Nick would like that, being a hypnotist, or therapist, NLP. But it's, yeah, so in Frido, it's about, yeah, brainwashing. This is about brainwashing with affirmations. It works because we keep on brainwashing our brain, and eventually our subconscious believes it, and why not? And then we can then bring it into the body later by action. But first of all, we've got it. It's helpful if we can brainwash our own brain. Listen, everyone's brainwashing us anyway. We may as well brainwash ourselves. I always think. That's funny, isn't it? Because we're being brainwashed all the time in our life, everywhere. So this is a great way of actually, I'm going to take control of brainwashing myself. So that's really great. So you got your affirmation. What have you got, Nick, so I can check in?
I have got, I am free.
I'm free. How nice is that? Sometimes it can be a bit of a problem for the mind to accept it. I sometimes find that I think, oh my God, I can't even say it. I can't, because I don't believe it totally, because I'm not. So it's sometimes a bit of a struggle, like, because it's like, but it's just the brainwashing part. It's just like saying, no, that's all right. I can say I am free. That's nice. That's powerful. So you've got your, and I'll just check in with Nina because it's only your second week. What's your affirmation? You're on mute.
It's, I am ready to begin a new career.
Right. So a word of a tip is to keep it as short as possible. Is that the shortest possible way you could say that? If it is, that's fair enough. But if it isn't, is there a, because don't forget, you know what you mean. Do you have to put the word career in there? Like, because you know, no. Okay. And also the problem is when you put career in there, it limits your affirmation, in fact, only to career. Whereas if you chuck that bit off and just say the first bit, which is,
I would say I'm ready to begin, or I'm ready for new beginnings.
could do, yeah. Or yeah, you could do, you could, or you could just say, I'm ready. Bring it on. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, but I'm just saying the shorter, the more kind of expansive it becomes. It's not just about being ready for new beginnings. You're ready for anything. Anything that comes your way, you're ready. It's like, that's powerful.
That scared me.
Yes, good, good. Now you got an affirmation that's worth having, that's worthy. If it's scaring you, that's great. It's like, what the fuck? This feels really weird. I need to make it more safe for me. It's like, it's too impossible to believe. That's really great. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. That's very lovely. Okay, and then finally, give yourself one action that you can prove your learning affirmation is true. So I am free. Give yourself one action to prove that I am free. And it can be anything. Remember, it can be very small. It could be as simple as I'm free. I'm going to go to the toilet, you know, later on, or I'm going to make a phone call to my ex, or I'm going to go for that new job. You know, it could be anything small or big. It's up to you. It's not about judging what it is, but better to have, well, I wouldn't say it's better to have. The idea is you've got to do it. And if you don't do it, that's okay. Just give yourself then a smaller action to do. If you don't do the one, make it easier and easier until you do it. The key is to do it, to somehow prove that your affirmation is true. So whether you give yourself a little one or a big one is up to you. But if you don't do that, make it easier for yourself afterwards. Don't sort of just not do it and that's forget about it. Because then you're invalidating yourself. You know, you're not free. That's what you've just said. You know, your body action has said, well, I'm not free because I didn't do it or I can't do it. You know, make it easier for yourself if you need to. And then I completely forgot, again, I've messed up today. At the beginning of the session, I forgot to say the percentage, didn't I? Yeah, I was testing you all. So
I still wrote my percentage. I remember.
Yeah. Oh, good. You naturally did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Some of you might have done it already. So with Nick and maybe Nina, I'm not sure. She might have forgotten. But I always say, give yourself a percentage at the very beginning of your word. how much of a master are you of your word? Are you 100% master of your word? Are you 5%? It's like, where do you feel you are? How much of a master are you of your word? And you can use two different methods of figuring out the number. It's very important to get the number you feel is correct. One is through your mind. It's just using your logic. It's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me, that number. And checking it in with your body. Always making sure the mind and body are in agreement. It's very powerful. Kinesiology. So you can make a circle, if you like. This is the way I use it. There's lots of kinesiology tests, by the way. Actually, we could do a different one. I'll show you another one. There's lots. If you put your hot arm out like that, and then put some resistance there, and you decide whether, if you can push it down, does that mean yes or no? And if you can't push it down, is that the opposite? One of them needs to be a yes, and one of them needs to be a no. It's just to get a feel.
Unfortunately,
what's that?
I've lost video again. Like, it might be because I'm using a web browser, but
oh, that's okay. That's fine. So with the kinesiology, you can do that if you like. Yeah. That's why there's lots of different techniques. Or you can circle your finger, like if you with your index and thumb, join them together in a circle. This is one I usually use. And then try and open them up with your other hand, like with your other fingers from your other hand. You try and pull the circle open, break it, in other words, and you decide which one's a yes or no. Is it the one you can't open, or is it the one you can open it? And one of them has to be a yes and one is a no. You have to decide which feels like a yes and which one feels like a no first of all. You can just make that decision and then check in with your percentage numbers. So now say, is it 50%? And check in with your physical test, kinesiology. Is it a yes or a no? 50, say 50 and try it. 40 and try it. 39. Really try and work out what the body feels is a yes or a no with the numbers, and refine it down if you want. If you get 30 and you're not sure, check 31, check 32. So you've got a percentage at the beginning, right, which we would have normally done. And now we're going to do one at the end. So this is to test whether we feel different. You might not, you might do. Weirdly enough, it might change now. Now you're kind of redoing it. You might feel the number may change. It may not. I don't know. But try it again. Check in with your kinesiology and check in with your number to feel like if it's different at the end of your journey compared to at the beginning. And then put your percentage down at the end of your journey now. And it doesn't matter, Nick, it doesn't matter if it's the same, if it's lower, if it's higher. It really doesn't matter, because there's a whole bunch of reasons why we go lower or higher or whatever. It's not about getting higher, because we're always learning. Even if you get to 99%, that last 1% could be like 1,000,000%. Like, it'd be so much to learn in the last percent. It makes no sense to anybody apart from yourself, your percentage. Or sometimes I'll go into a class and I'll say, I only know 10% of that. And I go into the class and I learn so much more about that subject than I thought. The subject becomes bigger than I thought it was. So therefore my percentage might drop down at the end of that class, because I think, Christ, I didn't know it was bigger than I thought. So there's always a reason we give ourselves different percentages. It's irrelevant. It's just a measure of where we are. That's all. Someone who knows 3% can be more powerful than someone who knows 20%, because it's all relevant, isn't it? Your 3% could be actually more skillful than someone who's measured themselves 20%. So it's all relevant to you. But it's important to try and get the number that resonates with you, because that's your truth. If you think you're better than you are, that's no good. You won't learn. If you think you're worse than you are, that's also, you won't learn optimal. So always try and get that number. So we're going to finish off now with our journey. We're going to go round with the last sharing. So Nick, how we do this is we just go round. Everyone gives their final sharing, whatever they want to share. If they don't want to say anything, that's fine. If they want to share something, they will. Okay, so it's up to them. And then if anyone needs to go a bit early, they just jump off sometimes, because if we're talking, they don't want to interrupt, so they just jump off. And if they're okay, they stay on. And at the end, whoever wants to...
early, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, exactly. So people will drop off if they need to. So we'll do our final completion. And I'll be on at the end for another 5 or 10 minutes for those who want to hang on and just have a chat, any questions to ask, etc. So let's go with Limor, seeing as she might have to drop off a bit early. She's going to do a final sharing.
So about my sentence, it's okay to be me, and I'm free to care the best for myself. And then just the 3 words I wrote, we are positive. So it was easy for me to say we are. So it's including my shadow and all the characters. Just to say we are positive, so that's give us the direction, focus to where I want to get. The action was practice my show often, and the percentage I started with 8% and I moved to 8.8. And I tried 9 and it didn't work. 8.8 is more the right percent.
Amazing. Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. That felt good when you said like we are positive and your shadows as well. It's like beautiful. It's like imagine fear being hugged by you for a change, you know, or something negative in your life or a negative feeling being hugged by you. It would feel so happy, wouldn't it? If you hugged a child who's in fear or angry even, they'd probably really appreciate that. So that's beautiful. Yeah, all you're beautiful. Okay, thank you, Limor.
Thank you. So I'm going to see you next week. Yeah.
Yeah, see you then.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you, Nietzsche.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
And let's go on with, let's try magic. What's your final share?
So my symbol was addiction, and few sentences which I wrote down during your questions was I'm choosing my addictions. Addiction is a choice. Addiction starts with a choice, so I can also choose to stop it. And about the percentage, I forgot also about to give for me percentage at the beginning, but I actually done it when you were talking about it, and I give it to myself just like that 75%. And you started to talk about the to checking with your body, and I checked, and it was 52%. So maybe this is some kind of measurement also, because I was thinking 75%, but my body told me 52. And I choose also this symbol also because someone recently asked me to help her to stop smoking. And but this, what I was doing with addiction, I was relating to myself, to my addictions, which I already have similar approach, which you were talking about it, like that this can be positive or not necessarily negative. You can always do it just because you want to, without any bad feelings and thoughts. And I think I am like that with addictions which I have in myself, but I don't really, I need to go through this process maybe to understand, but at this moment I don't really know how I can help someone to stop smoking completely, like not having this awareness only that, oh, sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. Maybe this will come later, I don't know. I will try this with myself. If this is the right approach, that I will set some kind of small goals that I don't know, I will do my addiction like only once a day or once a week and check if this will give me this kind of thoughts. I don't know, but I've done it in the purpose of helping someone, so I don't know really how this awareness will affect this person.
Sure. Okay. It's interesting you've chosen somebody else, you know, so it's always a bit more maybe challenging because it's not actually happening for you. So it's difficult.
Yeah, but that's what I said, that when I was doing the exercises, I was relating this to myself, about myself, what I feel about my addiction.
Okay, sure. What I would suggest is, I mean, you've been doing all the Frido journeys. So with your friend or the client, you could try some of them out with her words. Now, also remember, addiction might not be her word.
I know, but I can imagine we'll be stopped smoking or
Well, you'll be surprised what it is. You know, it could be anything. It could be anything. The smoking might not be her issue. See, again, remember, I always said choose something that's relevant. Now, it may be her issue, smoking, but it might not be. It might be something underlying it that's causing the addiction to the smoking. It might be unhappiness, might be love, might be relationship. So that's why I always encourage people to find their own word that they feel like, you know, is their word that they want to work with. Often it's not always the word we think it is. And they don't always know as well. That's why they might start off with smoking. And if you just get them to brainstorm, you know, different words that they might come up with some other words there that are more important, that maybe even the underlying cause. I think about it. If you want to stop smoking, you've got to get to sometimes the root of it. There might be a root there that you're missing there, or they're missing as well. Or she might find out at the end of the journey, she doesn't really want to give up smoking. She wants to cut it down, but that's not really the issue. It might be a symptom. Anyway, I'm just kind of giving you a different way of looking at it. Yeah, always coach. With coaching, it's not my idea that counts. It's your idea. It's like your word. And I'm just trying to help you find the right words and take you on one of the journeys, find out for yourself, share my experiences, my personal experiences, but they're not yours. You know, that can help sometimes, of course, but really separating the two. This is my experience. And now I'm going to help you, you know, find your own experience. And that's what that's all about.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck. And I don't know where Mina's gone. Mina's disappeared. I think she got cut off. She never goes. She's always the last one here.
Yes, she went and she wrote something on Messenger that she needed to go, some kind of emergency.
and also Nina as well. The Minas and Ninas. Okay. Okay, cool. So Harry H.
Okay, so my affirmation is I am disciplined, not disciplined. I am disciplined. I am disciplined. That's cool.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, just a few things that I'm just going to do more things to do with business that I've been procrastinating on because it's actually serious stuff, but I've just been not doing it. So I'm going to do more. That's the action. So Zoom calls with people that I'm working with on business instead of like not answering. So I'll do them like as soon as I get off this, we'll do a business call with people because they've been asking and I've been procrastinating a little bit. So I do get round to them, but just I delay it on purpose. So yeah, I'll keep doing that and but I am disciplined really. So I just got to be more. That's my learning is that I already am, but I just need to be a bit more. Like I'm good. I'm not like lacking in that department, but I can do my version of better. But I shouldn't be disappointed because I already am. So I'm all right. I'll get there, I feel.
What percentage?
So it was 65 at the beginning. It went up to 75. I'll go up a little bit.
Cool. That's great. I'll put you on mute, Harry, because it's a bit of a funny interference when I talk to you. Anyway, that's great. And what was interesting is you kind of said, you know, I was already disciplined, but actually you were 65%. That's what you said. And magic, I never, when I hear people like Harry said, because what he said was, he goes, well, I was disciplined anyway, but in actual fact, and he might have been, but he did give himself 65%. So I'm just coming back and reiterating. I'm saying, well, you were 65% disciplined. So in my eyes, it's not too disciplined. It's not that disciplined for me, 65%. It's like half. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It's like, if I was running a business, that wouldn't be good enough. I need to be more like 90%, you know, to run a successful business. But anyway, that was interesting. And now you're 85. So that's cool. And of course, there's always room for improvement. Yeah, that's really good. That's excellent. So there we go. So I hope you kind of took something from that today, that journey. Next week, we're going to work with the negative, big brother. So that's going to be a different vibe. So that should be cool. And if there's any questions you've got while you're online still, I don't know if Nick's got any. You got any questions you want to ask, or anything you want to share or not?
No questions off the top of my head.
Okay.
But just something I want to share a little bit. Yeah, I did have a bit of a takeaway from this, which is good. I mean, I'm not going to go into it now, but thank you.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. Okay, that's good. Exactly. If you can take anything away. I also find with the Frido, sometimes it takes us on some funny journeys. It points us into some funny directions. Sometimes it finds things in ourselves that we, oh, how did it find that? Could be something we recognize or something new. Sometimes people pick up a book, or find a therapy because of the Frido, because I coach them and I say, oh, what happened? She goes, oh, I found this really good therapy. And I said, oh, yeah, because you were working on that last week with Frido. Sometimes it can guide us into different places as well. Which is really cool. That's cool. It's nice to have you, Nick, here.
Cool. Thank you.
And you're welcome. We'll keep in touch anyway. If you want to carry on or come next week, you're very welcome. So anyone else got anything they want to say?
No, I just wanted to say that, as always, was very informative, and really nice that we have new people here, so we can exchange more different energies and thoughts about what we actually are trying to accomplish here. And I just must say that from the beginning of my journey with Frido, I became more aware actually who I am, and I think that this gave me more confidence, definitely, and I'm not so sensitive anymore, as I was really careful with my words, being more reserved. And this kind of journey, which I already done it with you, it's really it's hard to explain. I became more aware of myself and who I really am. That's the thing. And I would like to continue, and I would like to practice, and hopefully eventually I can do the same work as you are doing there.
That's wonderful. Brilliant. We're all on the journey, aren't we, together? Amazing. I mean, I've been doing, obviously, developed Frido 12 years ago, but really 20 years in the making, but certainly 12 years. And it's like, it was so complex to create it, because you guys know, right? It's like, that's quite complex, Harry. It's like, you've been on loads, right? You've been on retreats, with 3 retreats we've done with Harry. He's done loads of sessions, and it's still like, whoa, because there's so much it's simple, isn't it? But it's so a bit like, oh, it's simple, but it's like, whoa, it's like something very complex about it as well at the same time. So yeah, it's really interesting. But I tend to kind of have, I don't try to overthink things anymore, because as I go, the process really is just to get me to, become more aware of myself, my thinking processes, to learn. That's what I focus on. And I know when I do a journey, I get that. always getting something more each time. And then the nice thing is when we can see the evidence, of course. That's really good. So Nick, what we tend to do is each week, you remember at the beginning, I said, how's your week been to someone? And they remember what they were working on last week or the week before. Not everyone comes every week. And it's like, it's kind of just putting the dots together and kind of remembering as well. Some people say nothing happened, and then I give them a minute and they say, actually, something did happen. And sometimes it can be quite very relevant and quite big. Because that's a funny thing. When Frido works in its essence, to get us into the flow, really, this is all about getting into alignment. In fact, everything into alignment. And when everything's in alignment, you guys all know everything works perfectly, effortlessly, so effortlessly. You don't think about it. Anything happened, because it's so easy. It feels like, well, we didn't do anything, so we don't think about it. We're not even conscious. Like, oh, that just happened, but we didn't think about it. It's that effortless flow. So that's why we want to remember that, because the idea is we want to become more conscious of how we got into that flow each time. There's a way we go into that alignment every time. If we can master knowing how we can slip in, it's like skating, isn't it? It's like we know exactly how to shift the body, to control those skates or the skis. And it's a very subtle, movement, or with the balance or something. and we know how to get into it because we're used to it. We know that feeling. And for me, Frido is all about that. It's about getting me more conscious of actually slipping into that kind of alignment somehow, because it's so fine. You know, it's really difficult to find it. You know, we try and go here, we try and do ayahuasca, we try and read the Bible. We're trying to find things, you know, all the time, methods and systems, just to get into that alignment ultimately. So we become kind of almost like a oneness with everything. So that's how I kind of feel like Frido's a system for helping me to do that. I find that quite interesting. But yeah, I like the NLP and stuff. A lot of NLP has gone into Frido. There's been a lot of elements of NLP, a lot of elements of different systems. There is kind of hypnotherapy kind of concepts going through Frido as well. There's kinesiology, there's a lot of psychic work we do as well. Every card, what's that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the training I did was probably about 7 years ago, so I'm a little bit rusty with it all. But it was something called Quest Cognitive Hypnotherapy. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
Oh, I don't know exactly that one, but yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, it was kind of a modular thing. So it cherry picks ideas from NLP, including a certification and hypnotherapy and many other things. So it's just kind of, yeah, it's just a mixed bag of stuff.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, so Frido's
things work, they work, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. The point is, does it work? You know, I'm very much a pragmatist. It's like, you need to be able to measure, is it working in your life? You know, you've done something, can I now apply it? Being a pragmatist is like, that freaks me out. I've learned something, but I'm not applying it, or I don't know how to. It's like stupid. It's like, I've read a book on swimming, but I don't know how to apply that. So for me, with Frido, yeah, that's why we always have the action as well. It's like, I need to go and apply it. That's the only way I'm going to really practice it and get it happening in my life. That's really important. So Frido's the same. I've taken all the cherry pickings of everything I love that I've learned. I've made it into a system. It is a system. So it's like any system, but it uses a lot of different creative journeys, you know, different techniques and journeys, but they make sense to me. I've chosen them for a reason. Every technique I've used here, it flows into my particular system. So it makes sense to me. Everything's got a reason for being there, you know, from the percentages I use, to the symbols I use, to the techniques and rituals I use. They're purposefully created to fit into exactly the right point in this journey. So it all makes sense. It's all there to help, you know, in that part of our journey. So that's cool. We do some great ones in this one here, which is the crown chakra. We do a lot of kinesiology, and a lot of martial arts come into this one. This is the martial art one. So when I do my physical retreats, we do this kind of, it looks like a martial art. I've got a few videos of some retreats we've done it, and it's amazing because that one is all about bringing the spirit, because it's the crown chakra. But the difference with Frido's crown chakra compared to, say, meditation or yoga, so yoga crown chakra would be all about silent meditation, connecting to the source, the universe. It's all very spiritual, this kind of energy. But if you look at a martial art, one of these martial arts where there's the old guy, little old like karate kid, and he's channeling chi or ki, you know, the universal energy is far from doing nothing. It's more powerful physical than physical. So we do this kind of testing all the time, and it's amazing because that's the ultimate one where we can actually embody our symbol and use its power to actually make it real for us, physical. You know, we can use it to communicate to people, you know, through language. We can do it to do physical tasks and things like this.
I think I saw on your website, I had a quick look. You've studied Reiki as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've done, Reiki, reflexology. I studied Aikido, spiritual Aikido for many, many years as well. Holistic massage.
Spiritual Aikido, because I've been interested in studying Aikido as well. But what's that? Is that the martial art, or is that something different? Yeah,
so it's basically Aikido. So you've got to remember, a martial art is techniques, first of all. Like there are a bunch of techniques, whether it's taekwondo or karate, you know, or whatever, kung fu, they're techniques, and the techniques are designed self-defense or whatever. You know, they're a physical self-defense of some kind, although karate is also attacking. Aikido is much more self-defense. I mean, in its essence, it's only a self-defense. If you do Aikido properly, it's never attack. It's only defending ever. So so in Aikido, you always get someone who is attacking you, and they call them an uki. That their job is to attack you, so you can practice your Aikido. Right? You're not trying to beat each other. The uki is there to test you and challenge you, so you can develop your Aikido. That's all. And then you can develop your Aikido. So if you go to Yoshin Khan Aikido, they will teach you the techniques. Usually, it's more of a competitive. It's a little bit competitive, actually. It's not even.
There were more aggressive styles of Aikido, and then there's the kind of more pure Aikido.
Yeah. So basically, there's the techniques which are physically designed to, you know, put someone on the floor or disarm them or break their neck or whatever. They're designed for that purpose, to normally lock them so they can't move or whatever. So you get some Aikido people who just want to learn that. So you'll go to some classes and they just want to be really good at the technique, the movement, the position of their body, you know, the technical part of it, and they can get really good, like technically.
With the other Aikido, it's more the actual spirit of it as well, the philosophy. And
it's a philosophy of it. Yeah, it's also channeling the chi or ki in Japanese. It's about learning to actually what's the word? Receive the energy, like the chi, and then direct it through your hands. And they've got different, there is a philosophy, like we were taught some rules. For example, some of the principles was respect your partner's ki. You respect their ki. You know, they use philosophy behind it as well. And keep your weight underside, you know, relax, always be relaxed. So they've got some principles they use as well. Keep 1 point. That's the most important one, in fact, is you keep 1 point. So 1 point is normally like a point, an imaginary point. A lot of martial arts use it and yoga just below their belly button. Some people call it Santien or whatever, but it's like 1 point. They choose that position because it's the center of the body. And in fact, it's kind of the center point of the body. It's the most powerful point of the body, just below your belly button. But in Aikido, you don't put it on your belly button, on your body, you put it slightly away. So it's an invisible, almost spiritual point. And the idea is that point, the concept is it can channel, you imagine the energy of the universe coming through that 1 point and then into your body, and then you can direct it by imagining, you know, water's coming out your hand or cheese coming out your hand. So you're practicing kind of bringing it in and then directing it as well. It can be really interesting. The 1 point is really, really powerful. And my old master, he was just phenomenal. I mean, he was literally like the karate, you know, Mr. Miyagi. He was this old English guy, a skinny old man, just unbelievable. You would get big guys coming in, massive. Like I was scared of looking at this guy. I think, I hope I don't have to train with this guy. And Mike would just literally, like, you know, he could grab his finger, put his arms behind anything. And Mike would just like a baby. He would just throw him over there, put him on the floor, you name it. Like for years, I used to see people coming in to challenge this guy, Mike, because they heard about him. He had a private dojo in his garden. And I studied with him for years, and he just unbelievable. And once he demonstrated like pure chi or ki, and he just took my finger, like my hand, gently, just like that. And he just kind of did this. Physically, it's just like that, nothing more. But I just went down like unbelievable. I didn't know what hit me. I just got taken down. It was like hypnotherapy. I'd completely gone. I don't know what was going on. I felt like I was just going. And I went to the floor and I looked up, and he hadn't moved his hand hard. Literally, he might have moved it a bit, but almost nothing. And that energy just went through me like meant crazy. I studied it for years.
He's still going?
He passed away a few years ago, but his two main instructors who became my teachers, even when he was there, one of them's they're both good friends of mine now. They both live near me, but one of them's called Bob, and he co-created Frido with me 12 years ago. He's a really close friend, and he was he's amazing. He's like, for me, he's the closest embodiment of what I would say being free is. If you met him, you'd know. Harry's met him. A few people have met him now on retreats. He's a very unique character. So spiritual Aikido, yeah, you learn more about the principles, the philosophy, but mainly about channeling the energy. When I went to Yoshinkan Aikido once or twice, just to see what it's like, the black belt came up to me, because we don't use belts. In my Aikido, we don't use a belt. No one's better or worse, because you can get someone come in who's never done it before, and they're better than me, because they've got different understanding in life experience, or they could be like a Mozart. They've just got it. So it's not, we don't want to. So I went in, the black belt comes up to me and he tries to do this Nikio, and he couldn't budge me, because I wasn't fighting him with my physical. I was holding myself with my chi. And it's like very, very difficult to physically beat someone when they're not actually physically.
So because the chi interacts, and so you're kind of energetically affecting him and his intentions.
Yeah, exactly, because it goes back on the other person. It always goes back on, because I'm not trying to hurt him or do anything, but I'm just kind of being there myself. So the only way he could be able to do it is if he used chi, because my instructors can do it. They have no problem, because they're not using the muscles, to try and, or the technique. They're actually focusing on the energy that's coming through. That's what comes first. In actual fact, what they teach us in the Aikido is our 1 point. That's where all the power comes from as well. So if you want to push someone this way, imagine the 1 point is doing that, and you follow it. You follow the points, but you've got to get that point to move first, and then you follow it. Very powerful. I mean, that even physically, that's powerful. If you try and move from here, your shoulder, it's not as powerful as if you move from your center, your hips, for example. If you move your hip first and that follows, you've got a huge amount of power. But if you use your 1 point, you've got even more, because your hips follow your 1 point. It's very bizarre.
When I did the hypnotherapy training years back, it was part of the demos, was even though they don't necessarily believe in the chi and stuff like that. I mean, I do personally, but not as part of the training. It was more science-based and mind-based stuff. They use visualizations to, for example, hold your hand out and people try to push it down and stuff, and visualization of energy and stuff. And everyone had a tremendous experience, because they could, make someone feel particularly weak or particularly strong.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's not that we use that in hypnotherapy as such, but rather that it was an example to illuminate the power of
the mind,
and how the physiological effect that it does have. And it's
amazing. Yeah, so what I took from that, the Frido, when we do the martial arts style or the kinesiology, my concept is the 1 point, what they call 1 point in Aikido, right? Because the way I see 1 point, I see it just as a symbol, the same as your word. It's just called 1 point. And people have created a meaning for that. Chinese people over the years have decided what that means. It means that it can channel universal energy through. So they've given it like a meaning. They've made it come alive. It's got a purpose. It's got a job to do, and it can do it if you connect to it. Now, what I've done in Frido is it's the same principle, but your word becomes your 1 point. So, for example, the 1 point has kind of the same principle. When you connect to your word 100%, you actually connect with everything. It's like a channel that helps you connect to more. Because the one word is like an atom. And if you could learn about that atom a bit more, all atoms, don't you? If you can learn about one atom, it means every atom.
So it's kind of like, as you focus on that word and use that as your symbol, you, in a way, have got a focus point where you can connect it to all other things. But rather than jumping around and getting lost, you have this 1 point.
Exactly as well. Everything becomes one. So your mind becomes one, because you've got that, you're focusing your mind on it. Your body kind of tunes in as well, because you're feeling the same feeling, whatever that means for the body. And then, of course, things start to align with it. that one point, a stable point. So that, yeah, so it's amazing. And then the more it becomes real, the reason why things become real from my point of view is because it's been hundreds of years or thousands of people agreeing on what that word means or what that emotion means. And it's become our reality. It's hard to explain, but, you know, I would even say, yeah, I mean, I always think the impossible. So I always think what we think is reality is because it's become very, very solid. And I've proven it, because when we do the exercises, as you have in the hypnotherapy, we can lift a heavy body up with one finger. We can do it where a light body, they can keep themselves there and we can't lift them using this kind of technique. So we had a young girl last time, a little girl, you know, we picked her up easy. And then she used this technique. She connected to her word and she gave it a meaning, that word. So not only does it focus the mind and body, but she gave it a purpose. I get her to give it a purpose. I said, how would your love, because I think she chose love, stop us picking you up? Like, give it a meaning that makes sense to you. She goes, well, my love is way more powerful than anything physical. She knows that. I said, okay, so your love can keep us down here. She goes, yeah, like in theory. But that, I said, think about that. Focus on that then. We couldn't budge her. No one could budge her. You know, she was like a mountain. And it shows you can, I love the kinesiology testing because you can see it. You can't, people come up and say, no, Gary, you didn't try. Let me try. And then they take over and they can't do it. And it's like, it's so bizarre because we just can't believe we can change reality or we've created it as it is. We're born into the realities already, don't forget. Now, our ancestors have agreed on what things are or what they're not. And that's come through to our body. So we're kind of born into it. And then our environment, everyone says, you know, don't dream or this is no good or that's good or you can't put your hand in fire.
We play out those patterns or karma, for lack of a better word, in a sense. And unless we self-reflect on that, to become aware of where those patterns have come from. That's kind of the way I look at it a little bit. Yeah,
but then change it. It's like, imagine you've never been swimming. It doesn't matter why you never been swimming. Maybe you can't swim. You've never tried, maybe, or you tried once. I don't know. But, you know, and you're sitting there thinking, why can't I swim? Maybe it's my mother. Maybe it was the spider that bit me in the bath that day. Or it's like, the point is, it's like, that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to realize where things come from. But it's like, get in the swimming pool. It's like, just go in the pool, for goodness sakes. You've spent years trying to figure out why you can't swim. It's like, just get in, get into the shallow end, put your armbands on. Within a month, you'll be swimming. And you won't be asking that question. You'll just be swimming. And now you'll be saying, I can swim. I can show you how. So it's like, for me, it's like we've got to go into things like the swimming pool and now learn about create these new realities. So yeah, we do past regression. One of the cards is called past. We go back to reprocess, or should I say to fully process what was not processed in the past. The reason I've got a problem with being bullied, for example, is I didn't fully process that experience, 25 years ago. So I need to go back there. As you know, in hypnotherapy, they take you back off them. And that can sometimes release, or it can make sense of why, you were like that all your life because of that one, that one moment. Sometimes that can really clear the mind, and sometimes that can come straight into the body. Of course, things that the mind can do that, but it's kind of, I think it's not more powerful, but I like to work with both equally, the mind and body. They're both really equally powerful.
It's something I've only just started looking at. Have you heard of somatic experience?
I work with people who do a lot of somatic body work or psychosomatic massage now. One of my friends is doing psychosomatic massage. So it's working with both the mind and the body.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of it's held in the body, not just...
Yes, a lot of bioenergetic work, lots of stuff. The amazing thing I've been learning is the body, the last sort of several years, is a mind. The body has its own mind. I would say the mind has its own body as well, but because we separate the two, we've decided they're different. But it's like the body actually is incredibly like this being of intelligence. But because we haven't allowed it to develop, it's like having a child and not ever letting it go to school and not ever really teaching it anything. Always you telling it what it can do or can't do. So it's never really developing for itself, the kid. And it's like our body's like that. That's why people come to me with fear or addiction or anything for that matter. And I'm thinking, why is fear such a problem for you? Why is it such a problem? And they look at me and say, I don't know. They don't actually know. That's the funny thing. They know it's awful. They hate the addiction's terrible, but they don't like it. It's like, why? Why is it? What's going on? They don't even hardly know. Maybe they've read a few books, but their body's never really been allowed to understand what's going on for it. They know it's got fear in it. I just helped my mum last night because she was getting a lot of anxiety. And I said, chop your head off, put your head over there. Now, what's your body feeling like when it's anxious? And she said, nothing. It's like, wasn't even doing anything. She goes, well, maybe my muscles are going a bit like that. You know, what we find is big emotion that's a real problem for us is actually the body's not having really much of an issue with it at all. But we've never taught it. We've never allowed it to experience actually anxiety for the body is just kind of like that. Freezing cold weather. If I go outside and it's freezing cold, my body's just kind of doing that. It's not doing anything more. My head's doing a load of shit. It's saying, oh, fuck, this is freezing. This is killing me. I've got to get into the warm. Oh, my God, I'm going to die. But if you take your head off, the body's doing almost zero. And it's amazing. So I got her to take her head off and she felt better immediately. Although she's still got the thoughts going on, she didn't feel anxious. She thought anxious, but she didn't feel it. And that's who cares about thinking it. Feeling it's much far worse than thinking it. So that's really amazing. This is a lot of work I'm into. That's why I have a mind exercise in the body. So we get our body to understand it. You know, it's really important. And that's why we do the kinesiology and the mind. It's like they've got to agree with each other. If our mind is doing something else and not respecting the body or not acknowledging its intelligence, then we'll get fucked.
Yeah.
I've seen it myself. I went through my life saying, yeah, everything's great. No, it wasn't actually. I trained my mind to see everything as great. But actually, it wasn't great because my body wasn't feeling great. So it couldn't have been great. And then I started realizing, oh, I've got to include my body in these conversations and this learning. And my body's really, when I do my massages now, I don't think anything. I just let my body do it. I watch my hands. I think they know what they're doing. I don't even know what they're doing. I sometimes think, I wonder what they're talking about. Like my hands to the body. They're having a conversation, a much better one than I could have from my head. How can you speak to a monkey or a tree? No, you can't. How can my mind speak to a body? They're two different species. It's impossible. They can maybe get a grasp, have a basic understanding, you know, like maybe through being with each other and learning, they can kind of get to know what they like, what the other one doesn't like, what it means. You know, it's like with living with a partner for long enough, you get to know what they kind of mean when they say something. So you start to get a grasp of it. But ultimately, it's about your mind developing itself so it knows itself. It becomes really intelligent and it knows itself, but the body developing so it knows itself. And that's the best way we can kind of become intelligent. Let the body learn by itself and the mind learn by itself and let them help each other, I would say. That's what I would say. Because if you take one out, you're fucked. You know, take your mind out, your body's fucked. Take your body out, your mind's fucked. They kind of work together. So it makes sense to kind of get everything to work together. It's cool. Amazing. And then I would include another element, your soul. You know, on a more spiritual level, we work with a lot of soul energy as well in some of the cards. And it's more psychic kind of energy and intuitive. And it's like, again, it's a symbol of the soul. You get your soul to work with your mind, to work with your body. Fantastic. You know, you've got a powerful energy. The problem is you've got people saying the body is inferior. It's the mind. And then you've got people in the body saying the mind's useless. It's all about the body. And then you get some people saying that's not important. It's about the higher self. It's amazing. You see it all the time.
More body
Yeah.
and mind by itself, and then
Yeah, everything's a war. You know, that's higher than that one. God's better than this one. It's like in Frido, everything is exactly the same, because how I see it is the beginning of the universe was one, and it just duplicated itself like a cell. So there's no more power in that than there is in that. It's absolutely the same. It's a split. It's a cell that's duplicating itself all the time. It looks different. You know, everything expresses itself differently, but it's actually exactly the same, because if you started off with one universe, you can't have something higher than it or lower than it. For me, anyway, it's impossible. How can you get something higher than that or lower? Now, if that's everything, that universe, then I'm in it. You're in it. Everything's in it. Everything's exactly the same. There's no difference. And it's like, once we come to realize that, we can start to actually work together as one. You know, but as soon as you get those ones saying, I'm better than you, or I'm worse than that one, it's like, there's a problem. That's going to cause a problem. Yeah, it's just a crazy idea. It's like, whoa, why can't we just all work together? It's like, and also that's where the concept of contradiction comes in. It's like, because so many things contradict one another. You could say, I love that, but I also hate it. Now, people can't get that concept that they can love and hate something, or they can think it's cool, but not cool, or handsome, but ugly. I might see that girl and say, she's beautiful, but she's also ugly. That's contradiction, and people can't get that into their head. It's like, no, I've got to choose one or the other.
Limitations of words, really, isn't it? And we
I can only be Jewish or Muslim or Catholic. I can't be all three. So it's like Frido's about saying, no, you can be everything you want, anything you want. It's amazing. It's incredible. It really
Gary,
is.
I have to shoot off, but thank you so much. And I'm going to try to drop in as often as possible if I'm welcome to. And
of course you are. Yeah, I'll put you into the group so you'll be aware. There's about 15 people in the group, and people come on and off and on and off and have breaks. So it's all flexible. You know, it's whenever it suits people to come on again. That's the point of Frido. So it's very easy.
Is it typically the same time every week, or do you?
Unless we get a few people saying, can we make it a different time? I did have Tiffany, actually. She hasn't made it for ages because she said she just can't. She needs it in the morning. So I might consider asking the group again for some times and stuff, and I try and get one to suit the majority, or I might consider doing another one as well, like a second one. And so I'll have 2 a week. So I'm going to, but I'll join you onto the group anyway. And then you can communicate through there. You know, if it's a case of like you'd like to do it, you know, and it's not good timing, just let me know, and I'll keep it in mind and stuff. Okay. You know, right. Yeah, nice to have you here. It's a pleasure. Yeah, really, really, very, very welcome.
See you
and
soon.
yeah, keep in touch. Any issues or anything you want to share, just feel free to reach out anytime.
Yeah, brilliant. Will do. Thank you.
See you soon.